Hey folks, time for another update video. I have a lot of neat stuff I've been working on, a lot of it behind the scenes, so there's not too much to show for it, but there is some stuff to show for it. So I'm going to switch to my debug view and get to it. So in case you haven't noticed, I now have a couple new debugging features that are in here, which are pretty neat. I now have coordinate frames for every object that I have in the scene. So I had a couple invisible objects before that you couldn't even tell were there. Now you can see that I have a script attached to this boy over here. That is making it spin. Same script actually that I have attached to this planet looking thing that I have. And I have my billboards here that are all displaying just fine. And I have debug text now, and I added a frame rate counter here because that is something that was desperately needed that I was missing. And it's taken a little while to upload this video because when I added that frame rate counter and ran my skeletal animations, I noticed that my frame rate was dropping to an embarrassing 40 frames per second. And this is in debug mode in Visual Studio, so things are going to run a lot slower than they will in the final release build. But I still was not happy with that and spent about a week or so doing optimizations, and I've almost doubled my frame rate. This is hitting up to 80 frames per second, hovering around 70 generally, so that's pretty good. And I'll turn off the animations on this guy, and you'll see that they actually haven't gone up too much. They go up a little bit. You can see this is really more result of my frame rate averaging here. It's sort of a lot of variation, but I'm actually pushing up to around like 90 to 100 frames per second. So you can see I'm getting a little bit of slowdown from the skeletal animation, but thankfully not as much as I was getting before. So that's really neat. What else have I added? I'm planning on adding a few more debugging features like for rigid bodies and collision objects to make it a little bit more clear what's actually interacting with collisions. So like I have a rigid plane over here on the floor that's not actually being explicitly visualized that you can see is interacting with my physics on those cubes that I may drop. So yeah, there's a lot of fun stuff happening. It's definitely a lot easier to see what's going on when I have my coordinate axes in there. And my line rendering is still looking really good. But yeah, I think that's about all I had to show this time. I'm going to be working on, once again, those debug visuals going forward and actually implementing some of the rest of the physics features like raycasting, and then doing some pretty neat inverse kinematics to get my animations looking a little bit more fancy. So stay tuned. Till next time.